so it has been 2,567 years since the Buddha's passing away, and therefore every temple, everywhere that they have a little ceremony depending on the day. Here, especially on Saturdays, Sundays in America. Usually in other Buddhist countries, there is one holiday, and that is when they celebrate. So we decided to do it today on the 21st. So this is just the idea about this practice is that to find a way, find a method to eliminate our own pain and suffering in life. There are many other ways to do that. Exercise, also medical things and so on and so. But the Buddha's teaching is also offering something to eliminate the emotional, mental pain and the sufferings. So that that is what we study as the Dharma. And once a year, we just introduce these 5 precepts, basically what it means to our practices. So then you see in this paper that you have, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. That means a homage to him, the exalted, the worthy, the fully enlightened one. Actually, only 3 qualities mentioned in these phrases: the exalted, or in another way of saying, the blessed, the worthy, and the fully enlightened. There are 6 more qualities that basically explain these qualities related to the Buddha. So then what it has to do with us, you see? What it means here as human beings, that we all are searching, looking something. What we are looking, what we are searching is are these 9 qualities, 3 of them here mentioned. That means exalted or the blessed. This is one thing that as human beings that we all want to. We all want to be blessed. So that's a deep down rooted desire that we have. In order to be blessed, knowingly or unknowingly, publicly or in secretly, that we are doing so many things in order to fulfill this life that we always wanted, that blessing thing. Whenever somebody says, I bless you, or God bless, or whatever, you just have some sort of a joy to hear the words, you see. It's something deeply rooted in us we all want. So then the Buddha, in that sense, completed it. And then the worthy, another word, that means we all want to feel in a certain way worthy of being who we are, you see. That is why, as a father, you want to be worthy of that title. You work from the morning to evening, and you carry on that duty because you want to feel that I am worthy of playing my role. It's the same with every other title we have. You see. That is that's worthiness. We want to feel that we are worthy of something. That's such a deeply rooted thing. So sometimes we get into problem also going pursuing that thing, to prove that I am good at something kind of. So the Buddha has fulfilled it. And therefore we call the Buddha worthy. That means as a human being, the thing that we try to fulfill, it manifests in the Buddhist realizations. That is what the worthy quality the Buddha. And then the enlightened, that means we all want to feel that we know everything kind of. Even though we don't know, but we feel like I know, even though my method is wrong, that I think, I know something. And this is another search that we have in life. We want to know what's happened. Sometimes, being nosy about what is happening in neighbor's house also, it's a part of this search. I want to know what is going on there, what they are up to. But this enlightenment put an end to that searching. And this search, this knowledge that we are looking around or looking for is nothing but to bring peace and happiness to our own life, you see. So these are the things that human minds function on. So then the Buddha has completed it. Therefore, there is no further search. There is no further something to do to feel worthy and blessed. It's all completed. That's the whole idea about fully enlightened means. Therefore, these qualities are attributed to Buddha because Buddha has achieved it in a different way, than the ways that we follow. That is what in the Dharma we study. So therefore, these three qualities attributed to the Buddha, we call Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. That means that is the same thing that we in life also want to achieve. And then after that homage or salutation, then comes the Buddham Saranam Gacchami. To the Buddha, I go for refuge. So then whenever we say, I go to the Buddha for refuge, that we know Buddha is no longer here, you see. What we have is a Buddha statue. And then what is this idea about saying, to the Buddha, I go for refuge means? Buddha is, even though we have a statue, even though we attributed it to a particular personality, historical Buddha, the Buddha represents basically the wisdom, you see. So then when we say, I take refuge in the Buddha, this image basically doesn't give you that refuge. He doesn't hear you. He doesn't see you. He doesn't feel you. So then what this statue does is, it represents that whatever the wisdom is. Therefore, when you are sitting there or meditating in front of it, this wisdom is the object of it. Buddha is the presentation of the Buddha. So then, in a brief, there are many ways to explain this wisdom. And right after Buddha's enlightenment, when Buddha was walking, somebody asked, "Who are you?" You see. Then the Buddha says, "I am the Buddha." Then he asked, "Why you are called Buddha?" You see. Then this is how Buddha explained it. What should be developed, I have developed. What should I have? What should be get rid of? I have get rid of. Therefore, that I am called Buddha. What should be developed, I have developed. That means compassion, kindness, detachment. These are the qualities that he has developed. And then what he got rid of is all the ignorance, attachment, aversion, and all these qualities he has got rid of. So that uh, uh, therefore it calls the Buddha. Therefore, in order to gain this, whatever the wisdom, the greed, the hatred, delusion should be eliminated, and other good qualities has to be developed. That is how a wise man's existence is. A wise man cannot be greedy, fighting, angry, jealous, and ignorant kind of a thing. So that in order to wisdom to arise, some sort of a purification supposed to happen, and bad things we got to get rid of, good things we have to develop, and that way it prepares the condition for the wisdom to arise, you see. So that is what the idea when we say Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. And then also Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, to the Dhamma I go for refuge. That this word Dhamma is a very interesting word. It has a lot of meaning in it. It means basically the teaching of the Buddha. It means the method. It means the law. It means the nature. And it also means whatever ideas and opinions, good and bad, all that bears in our mind is also goes under the category of the Dhamma. That means good and bad ideas are also called the Dharma. Therefore, there is a phrase, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. That means no matter how many ideas, opinions, good and bad we have, these dharmas are not me, not mine. It doesn't belong to a particular person. So that means it's another aspect of this dharma to understand. This whole world is, in another way we can say, dharma. And then these ideas, opinions, views, good and bad, in the Buddhism we say we have to let it go. Even the good ideas we have to let it go, you see. Or when the time passes by, they also basically disappear. We cannot hold on to these good ideas also, you see. Therefore, the dharma in basic sense is the method, way to follow, so that we come to the realization of a method to improve ourselves. So those all included in this, whatever the word dharma is. It also goes under the category of mental, physical phenomena. It's a different areas to talk about. But we generally, when we say I take refuge in the Dhamma, basically means certain principles, certain methods. These 5 precepts as a guidance when we practice, it become a I take refuge in the Dhamma. Taking refuge in the Dharma, in another way to say how it become a refuge is our success or failure in life depend on what kind of ideas and opinions, views that we carry around. So if we have bad ideas, bad opinions, bad intentions, and then it's never going to be a refuge for us. You see. Down the road, that thing increases, and that greed itself brings some sort of a destruction into us. You see. We will be destroyed internally when the greed, the hatred, and all these bad ideas we follow, you see. So these things become titles for all these TV shows called Money and Greed, So you find it here. So you can see how somebody destroy another person plus destroy their own existence or life when they follow those things. So that in order to live little longer, healthy, some sort of a good ideas has to be followed. Love, compassion, kindness, generosity, less greed has to be practiced in order to bring little peace and happiness. Therefore, taking the refuge in the Dhamma is a very important thing, you see. It is nobody else come to save you. Your own ideas and opinions is what going to either help you or cause you all kind of problems. We all know after being here for some time, what is the success, what is the failure. It's not the amount of the money that we have in the bank, but the quality of the life and the quality of the person. That is where the success is. So then, you see, when we say that taking the refuge in the Buddha, that means wisdom. You see, this is very interesting, you see. Because when basically people, when they fall in love, most of the time people say, follow your heart, But in the Buddhist way, we little disagree with it, We put the Buddha first before the Dharma, you see. That means we don't follow your heart, Because when you follow your heart, basically you go along with your emotions, Emotionally, you fall in love, and after 2 weeks, you find out the facts about the guy, and then you think, I'm in trouble. So, if you're going to really be successful in loving, follow the Buddhist way. You see, that means follow your head first. First, find out the facts about the person, and then make opinion and let your heart follow, rather than following your heart first and finding the details later. It's not a good strategy, you see. So if you've been following your heart, my reminder is follow your head first and then let your heart follow your head, That way you go and end up in a good place, rather than in a bad place, So taking refuge in the Buddha and the Dhamma, you see what a beautiful way it guides us. Find the fact first and then let your heart follow it, Rather than following your heart and then finding the facts later, it's not good. Then you already find out you are in love with this mass murderers, and all the details. It's not going to be good, So that is the way the following the head is the Buddha, taking refuge in the Buddha. Following the heart, Dharma developing according to that is the second thing. And the third one is to the Sangha, I go for refuge. Taking the refuge in the Sangha, you see, is another idea, you see. There are all kind of Sangha, or the members of the monks and the lay people and teachers and so on and so. They are in different categories, in different levels, and, they themselves come to this practice as ordinary people. And then they try to develop themselves and understand the teaching, you see. So in this understanding, sometimes everybody is not on the same page, depending on their experience, their understanding, and they are improving, you see. And then whatever their understanding level is, in the Buddhism, that what we are recommending is, it's not the person that you have to believe, you see. The person is not important, but the message he is giving is what you got to follow, you see. What is his experience is what is important, you see. Because if you can't give that whatever the message in the right way, then just following the person doesn't do a damn thing. Just following a person just because you like the person doesn't mean anything. It take you nowhere, you see. So you have to understand what's the message this person is going to give, you see. And that's what important, you see. And if the personality is no good, they all fall, nobody going to keep them in that organization or in that order, because they immediately get out of it. So then even when I look at, you see, so many teachers that I followed, learned from them, and many of them have died, you see. And then I cannot put another new guy as my teacher, you see. it's kind of a silly thing, because after you all learn these things, you cannot keep replacing the person. But another person will be the master. But what I have learned, I'm going to practice, that going to give me the direction so I can keep following. And the person, when the time goes by, they also get weak, old. Even though at the beginning, when we are young, we talk about all kind of postures, keeping our legs crossed and keeping our back straight, and then you give it 50 years, and then, the master himself can't sit straight, because he's old, he's 80 years old, he can't bend his legs, so how does he meditate now, you see? So it's all, when the time goes by, it happens. So the posture at the beginning, when you are young and healthy, is important. But when you come to a particular place, it is not the posture, but what kind of mind that you are maintaining and what kind of understanding is what matters, you see. Therefore, taking refuge in the Sangha basically doesn't mean the color of the robe and the color of the hat and the, shiny head that you're going to fall in love with. That doesn't do any help, you see. But you try to see what the message the person has, what is the experience the person has, and how can it help me eliminate my own pain and the suffering. That's what we go to. And then these are the three things, taking refuge in the Buddha, taking refuge in the Dhamma, taking refuge in the Sangha means, And then when we say that, it's basically in a certain way, you are focusing how to get your mind organized so that whatever the ideas you follow become a refuge for you, you see. It brings some sort of a meaning to you, you see. Because things always keep changing, you see. Sometimes the teachers also, when they get a better temper, they move out, and then, you will be left alone. And therefore, I have to be a refuge for myself. When down the road, the other day I heard a story. I know a little bit about this family. She had two daughters and one son. One daughter was a doctor. She died in the valley catching COVID. And when she died, and then later, 3 months later, her second daughter in Canada diagnosed with cancer, and then the 6 months later she died. And then the son was the only son she had, and then they were going to Sri Lanka, and then at the airport, the son, 40-something years old, told the mother, "Wait here, let me go change some money and come back." And he had a heart attack and he died at the airport. Oh, so just imagine a mother experiencing these three things within a short period of time, and then she has to still live thinking, all my three kids no longer around here. So this is not a kind of a thing just to happen to one person. This is happening to so many people around you. See, this is the real condition or the real status of our life. You see. And the people that we expect going to be there for us sometimes go faster than us. And therefore, if there is somebody to be a help, we are extremely lucky. We should be extremely thankful. But if there is nobody, we don't have to be scared. But whatever the good things that we have developed, these principles, these ideas, these qualities that we have developed should be a refuge for us. That's what we have to develop these things, so that internally our inner environment will be much more peaceful rather than fear, frustration, and anxiety take over our heart and the mind. So these are the things, that you all know even though I don't have to explain this, you all know after living the life and seeing whatever you have seen, we all are in a kind of a situation like that. Therefore, these things are very important, you see. And it is not always, the Buddha says, in the Dhammapada, Putta matti dhanam matti iti balo vihanyati attahi attano natti kuto putta kuto dhana. This is Buddha said 2,567 years ago. People think, oh, I have money, I have sons and daughters. But Buddha says, even you yourself is not for yourselves. And how can there be sons and daughters and the money, what they can do? That we know that at last, our own ideas can't help, If that kind of that is the real situation of life, you see. But we basically try to comport ourselves. Oh, I have a good retirement, I have a house and this, that. But later on, what you going to do when you can't get up and sit down or do in your own house, you see. So this is the situation that we all going to face down the road, so that while you have a good retirement plan, while you have a house, while you have other things to help you out, you also have to develop your own mind and heart and ideas, so that internally your inner environment will be much more peaceful and content, and you have some sort of appeasement that nobody can do it. Money cannot do it, location cannot do it. You got to do it wisely, reflecting upon yourself, rather than getting mad with the world and the people and all, disappointing other people kind of. It is not the way to go, you see. We don't need to blame others, because everybody is in the same boat. It's a matter of time, you see. Our youth, no matter how much we are happy about, it's going to lose, you see. There is a story in one of the discourses. Somebody who is a wanderer, kind of a holy man, walking for exercises here and there, he saw the Buddha at a particular place, and then he kind of had this idea that the method, the way the Buddha teaches, not very appeal to him, so that he confronted the Buddha and asked about the health and the Nibbana. And then when the Buddha says the health is the greatest wealth, Nibbana is the highest blessing, he said, oh, we too have heard about this. In our scripture also we have read this, health is the greatest wealth and the Nibbana is the highest blessing. We have heard, Then the Buddha asked him, what is that health? What is that Nibbana? When this question was asked, he immediately clapped on his arms and legs and he said, I am healthy. This is the health. I am happy. This is the Nibbana. This is what he said to you. Paribhajako sakena sudan gattani panina anomanjati. He just touched and said, I'm healthy. This is the happiness. Then the Buddha said, this body is a barb, a dart, a disease, a cradle for all kind of diseases. How long it going to last? Even though you just saying, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm this. We all had that feeling in our 20s, in 30s, Oh, I'm not going to be like grandpa. What happened to me? I am healthy, I'm strong, I'm all right, We had that feeling, you see. But now, 50 years later, we begin to realize what a stupid idea that we had, you see. And we can't even get up without the help of somebody, you see. And walking stick is important, or walker is important. Therefore, that kind of illusions are what we have about life, you see. I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm so proud of my who I am kind of a thing. But it's a matter of time, you see. Doesn't matter what religion you follow or what religion you don't follow, or you don't have a religion or have a religion. It's a matter of time. And then we all going to lose the appearance and the strength and the vitality. It all come to that helpless state. So then Buddha said that the health that you're talking about, the nibbana, the bliss that you're talking about, is not what I am talking about. In order to see this emotional, mental, and physical health, and then this bliss, Buddha says, you have to have a special knowledge. If you don't have that special knowledge, you're going to be deluded and thinking, oh, I am the best, I am looking good and I am healthy. It's like a crab in a water pot. While the gas is, just turn it on, oh, I'm happy in the water. Yeah, give it a 5 minutes, You're going to jump out of it. So it's the same story, about life, you see. We cannot be proud about the health we have, you see. We have to be grateful. And when somebody is complaining about a sickness and ill health, we shouldn't ignore it. We have to pay attention, do whatever we can do, show a little bit love and compassion, because I myself will be there down the road. These are equal opportunity. Old age, it's an equal opportunity. It's coming down the road. Therefore, little understanding, kindness, compassion is important. This is what these three refuge basically means. To the Buddha, I go for refuge. To the Dhamma, I go for refuge. To the Sangha, I go for refuge means this kind of ideas, this kind of a philosophy, this kind of a path, how we follow our own wisdom, follow our own heart, and getting whatever good advice, good guidance from everybody, whoever offer us. You see. The other day, you see that I was driving on Palmdale Boulevard, and then suddenly I saw somebody, a lady in her 50s, pushing a walker and trying to get somewhere. You see. I was touched when I saw that, what a struggle it is. And then I parked the car on the side and I look at her couple of minutes. It's a agony, struggling to go with walking on the pavement, pushing this. Then I thought to myself, in the Buddhist discourses that we read about the suffering and the nature of the life and so on and so, then I thought this is a discourse. This is a discourse telling about when you hit this age, when you are affected by this kind of diseases, this is the situation you're struggling with it. So therefore, when we look around, oh, that person I don't like, that is not the way to look at it. We got to look little deeper down. What that person is trying to tell you, what the person going through. So when this way, when we look at this whole world, what we see, what we hear, all become enlightening things. If we have the eye to see it, if we got all the ignorance and the pride and greed in our, we don't see it that way. Oh, that's not what we go in a different way. Therefore, in order to be spiritual, you don't need to belong to a particular group. You just need a little eye of the wisdom to look around where you are, you see. And when you see who you live with, who are around, your grandfather, your grandmother, your in-laws and whatever, that's good enough for you to get some idea. If you have a little wisdom here, if you are blinded by greed and hatred and delusion, even though you look at the spiritual script, you don't get it. Because you are already blinded, you see. And therefore, when we really see it, only thing what we need is to get a good look at ourselves, our mind, so that we can find a way out of the suffering. If we ignore looking at ourselves and only keep looking at everybody else with our greed, hatred, and delusion, and so on and so, we never find a way. We are still in the jungle. Anyway, so these are the three things we basically say: Buddham Saranam Gaccham, Dhammam Saranam Gaccham, Sangham Saranam Gaccham. And then the other thing, three times why it is said here is, it is like, you cannot push somebody to say, I do, The person has to say willingly, I do, you say. Otherwise, you can't trick somebody to say, I do it, and then you're in trouble later on. I didn't mean that, So you got to let somebody voluntarily say, I do, you see. In the same way, these three times what we say, for the first time I go to the Buddha, for the second time, for the third time, means we don't try to trick somebody to say something. You got to mean it, hey, I'm very alert and I know what I'm saying. As I said before, your heart follow is find the facts. Otherwise, you're in trouble, So that is why it is three times mentioned. And after that, when we get these three things, correct, our head in the right place, our heart in that way, and then we are following the good guidance, counseling, and so on and so, then some kind of principles we're going to follow, Those principles are what we call the precepts, So, these five things that we call the precepts, I undertake the precept to refrain from destroying creatures. That basically, the Tony gave an explanation too. I just wanted to touch it. The idea here is, that in our everyday life, sometimes we don't plan to do something out of emotions that suddenly we just step on something out of fear or the frustration or whatever, that kind of a way in our everyday life, it happens. So then these things at first it doesn't make much meaning, It's just okay, it's a bug, it's a mosquito, it's an ant, whatever. That way we go along. But when the time goes by, like the drop by drop, the container is going to be filled in. These kind of unconscious, unmindful behavior and these kind of things, if it continues, they all accumulate in the system, and then later it brings some sort of a guilty consciousness. We know down the road what I did was no good. How many times when we look at our life, when we were kids, whatever we did, it didn't matter. We did whatever we did. But now, 30 years later, 40 years later, it doesn't stay well with us, We feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have treated my brother or sister like that, But at that time, that was the thing. So the animals don't have that kind of consciousness, but human beings have a powerful consciousness, and it holds that guilt there, and then once it comes, it's very difficult to overcome. These are causing our emotional, mental, causes problem in our emotional, mental health. Therefore, paying little attention before the summer comes, cleaning things around, keep the place clean, so that you don't have to deal with it. That's what I mostly do, go around and cleaning it around so that I don't have to deal with all these problems later on. So that kind of a thing, you see. And paying little attention how to avoid it rather than creating a situation and you have to deal with it. That's the one kind of thing. And the second thing is also, as human beings, there is no born thief, We all are born exactly the same way. Then later on, depending on where our mind goes, then our hands follows there. Therefore, in the Buddhist teaching that there is a custom, for the Buddhist monks, in the traditional way, you give to the hand, like a gift, you give to the hand. You don't put it down there and say, it's your gift, kind of. You give it to the hand so that person knows this is given to me and I take it, rather than, oh, it should be mine and I'm taking it kind of. So these are habitual thing, unconscious behaviors. Even look at these Hollywood rich people, stealing a bar in a bra in a kind of a shop kind of thing. She can buy it, but it's still steal. The reason it becomes a sickness in the mind. Therefore, we can see sometimes, how many problems in the same family, brothers, sisters has when it comes to these kind of issues. A little more for the other person, less for me, this kind of thing. Therefore, we have to be conscious. Whatever belong to the other person, I don't even need to appreciate or thinking something valuable that person has. It's somebody's thing. It's not my thing. I don't need to pay my attention to that. Under whatever circumstances, if my mind going in that direction, I better discipline it. Otherwise, my action goes where my mind goes. That kind of a way to conduct. So then the mindfulness, the practice meditation, what we do mindfully, when you develop the mindfulness, these are the things that you're going to be aware of, so that you mindfully conduct. When you mindfully conduct it, you aware what is happening here, so that the unacceptable behavior doesn't come along. And then the same thing, with what we call the sexual misconduct. Basically, literally that is what the term is, but basically what it means literally is we are seeking the pleasure from our five senses. Why we are seeking the pleasure from our seeing, hearing, smelling, touching is because we don't have the happiness inside. Therefore, we constantly seek it. Therefore, we have this habit of grass on the other side is greener kind of attitude. These are all illusionary stuff, mind created stuff. Therefore, when you have the mindfulness, you commit to your relationship, you try to grow there, and this is where the so-called diseases of the mind has to be cured in relationship. It is so sad that sometimes, when you watch all these programs on the TV, what a disaster people bring upon themselves because of this kind of a mind has no control. It's even sometimes lawyers, doctors, priests, this kind of people also losing their mind. Therefore, these things has consequences, not only for that person engaged, but many other people, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, related to that whole family. Therefore, some sort of a clear picture of what we want in life, and how we're going to get it is an important thing. That way, when we have that clear picture, we are content with whatever the relationship we have. We have to grow there, and that is what these precepts are. And then the incorrect speech. This is basically, lying. Sometimes people lie, even they have no idea they are lying. There are some like that. It's a different things. Different mentalities. It's a clear consciousness is not there. Somebody who hasn't been in another place, sometimes, I have been there too. It's a habit. Therefore, we have to pay attention to those things, and that is how we come to some sort of a control of ourselves, rather than going along with this whatever the wandering mind. So then, when we refrain from torturing, killing animals, not kind of taking what is not given, and then unacceptable behavior, when we refrain, when we don't mislead somebody, we don't need a drink. If you break the first one, break the second one, break the third one, break the fourth one, and you need your Budweiser at the end of the day, otherwise you cannot survive. You need a drink, to be alive. That's what after work, coming home, okay, I need that one, because otherwise I can't. I have no life. I rely on it. And these things have consequences, health consequences and other consequences. When we were young and strong and healthy and stupid, that's okay, But when we get to a particular age and, we've got to pay attention, otherwise we have health risk. It's going to be so dangerous. Therefore, paying attention, we have to live healthy, we have to live in a kind of peaceful way, enjoy the life, so that the things that are going to cause problems, we got to eliminate it. So this is all possible to a person who has some wisdom, because they don't want to get into trouble doing whatever unnecessary things. That is how we get our behavior organized. We get our life organized. That is what a wise man is. When you follow your wisdom, you get your life organized. And that is these five things, basically. So we talk about it. Now you see, because of the time and everything, I'm really grateful to you all coming and some others on the Zoom and watching it. They have followed it for many years. I really appreciate that you still keep this little contact with this place, keep practicing. And I also very happy after so many years knowing you from time to time, whatever personal stories you tell me, how much you dedicate to this practice, how much you gain out of this practice. I hear those things even though I don't put it in public places to see other people, that I am content with what we have done. And as I always say, I live your life. From time to time, what I bring is a little teaching things, giving you a little aspect to look at, a little method to follow. And I have seen the progress of it. And that you all, wherever you are, all the good things that you do, voluntary work and helping others and so on and so, really appreciate. These are important things. At the same time, all kind of ways, whatever you contributed to this existence of this place, I really appreciate. People who are regular coming or not coming, in many ways they have contributed. Because of that, that I am capable of continuing this work. I really appreciate all the work, all the help that you have given. With that, today, you see, to conclude this service, that I wanted to chant some Buddha's discourses and wish you all peace and happiness, good health, and to understand this Dharma, and then to open your wisdom and to get your life organized and to feel some kind of appeasement and peace within your own body-mind system. With that benevolent wish in my heart, I'm going to chant some discourses. You can meditate and listen to it. नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य इति पीसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदो अनुत्तरो पुरुष धम्म सारथि सत्ता देव मनुष्याणां बुद्धो भगवती स्वाक्कातो भगवता धम्मो संदिट्टिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको ओपनयिको पच्चत्तं वेदितव्यो विඤ्ඤोहीति सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो यदिदं चत्वारि पुरुषयुगानि अष्टपुरुषपुद्गला एष भगवतो सावक संघो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अंजलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यक्षेत्रं लोकस्याते तेन सच्चवच्चेन पातु तं रतनत्रयं एतेन सच्चवच्चेन पातु तं रतनत्रयं एतेन सच्चवच्चेन पातु तं रतनत्रयम् करणीयमत्त कुशलेन यन्तं सन्तं पदं अभिसमेच्च सक्को ऊजूच सूजूच सुवचो चस्य मुद्वनतिमानि सन्तुष्को च सुभरो च अपगिच्चो च सल्लौकवृत्ति सन्तीन्द्रियो च निपको च अपगब्बो कुलेषु अनुनुगिद्धो न च बुद्धं समाचरे किञ्चेन विඤ्ඤो परे उपवदेयुं सुखिनो वा केमिनो हन्तु सब्बे सत्ता भवन्तु सुखितत्ता ये केचिपानुभूतत्येतसा वा तावरा वा अनवशेषादिगा वा ये महन्ता वा Majjhimarasa ganuka tuladittava eva additta eja dure vasanti avidure bhutavasam Vavesi vasabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta naparo varanni kubbeda Jnati manjeka gatta jinankanche vyarosana patika sanyana manyassa dukkha mitteya Mātāya tāniyam puttang āyusā eka putta manurakke vampi sabba bhūtesu Māna aparimanam nettanca sabba lokasmin māna aparimanam Uddhang adoja tiriyanca asambādang averang asapattam tittanca ranni sinno vāsayano vā Yāvatassa vigadamiddo etam sating aditteya brahmametam vyārang idamaho Dittinja anupagamma sīla vādassanena sampanno kāmesu viniyya gedang Naijātu gabba seyyam punareti etena sacca vaccena dukkha upa samentu te etena sacca vaccena bhaya upa samentu te etena sacca vaccena roga upa samentu te Mahakaruණිකෝ නාතෝ හිතාය සබ්බපානිනම් පූරෙත්වා පාරමී සබ්බාපත්තෝ සම්බෝධි මුත්තමං ඒතේන සච්ච වච්චේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං ජයන්තෝ බෝධියා මූලේ සක්ඛානන්නන්දි වද්දනෝ එවං තුයං ජයෝ හෝතු ජයස්සු ජය මංගලං සක්කත්වා බුද්ධ රතනං ඕසදං උත්තමං වරං Parirāvupa samanam buddha tejena sottinānasantu paddavā sabbhe dukkāvupa samentu te sakkattvā dhamma ratanang osadang uttamang varam parilāvupa samanam dhamma tejena sottinā nassantu paddavā sabbhe bhayāvupa samentu te sakkattvā sangha ratanang osadang Uttamang varang ahuneyyam pahuneyyam sangatejena sottinānasantu paddavā sabbe roga upa samentu te natti me saranang aññam buddho me saranang varang etena sacca vaccena hotu te jaya mangalam natti me saranang aññam dhammo me saranang varang etena sacca vaccena hotu te jaya mangalam natti me saranang aññam Sangho me saranang varang etena sacca vaccena hotu te jaya mangalam Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te Nakkatayakka bhūtānaṁ pāpaggaha nivārana parittasānubhāvēna Antu te sammupaddave nakkatayakka bhūtānaṁ pāpaggaha nivārana parittasānubhāvēna Antu te sammupaddave. Thank you very much. And with that, we conclude our little service and then everybody going to get one of these sting on your hand in sound. Om